When is this market going to crash? Well, stay tuned, and I'm going to give you my opinion on that. This is Dean Odell with Seven Gables Real Estate and the Odell Group. It is time to look at the Orange County market. We're going to be looking at all these charts you see here. Let's get started now with our first chart. So here we are with the active listing inventory year over year. You can see where it is today, just a little bit over 3,000 homes as compared to last year, which was 2,180. You can really see how it's dropped in the last 2 weeks, which, hey, 'tis the season, right? A lot of people are going to pull their houses off the market. And then if we look at the 3-year average, you can see we're still well below that. We're still at historical lows here, but we are moving in the right direction. We have almost 1,000 more homes this year than last year. Now we're looking at demand. So how is all that demand doing this time of year in the last 30 days against that inventory? Well, today we have 1,310 homes in escrow. You can see that's only 50 homes down from last week. And if you look at where we were last year, we actually had about another almost 200 less sales going on last year. So that extra inventory of almost 1,000 homes has produced another 200 sales this year. And if you look where that is compared to the 3-year average, you can see that it's 1,774. So think about that. There was 3,000 more homes on the market back then than there is now. And it only produced another, 464 sales? That's not that much, for all that extra inventory. So interesting stuff. Now let's look at how all that demand looks when it relates to expected marketing time. That's a relationship between the supply and the demand. What you're going to see is that today we take about 70 days on average to get a home sold, where 2 weeks ago it was just a little bit more than that. But last year it was 59 days. So we have actually slowed down a little bit from last year. And the 3-year average, you can see we are still outpacing that, which was 87 days. So what we want to look at now is how does that expected marketing time break down by price range? And what's crazy here is you can see a hot seller's market all the way up to $2 million, because all those price brackets right now are still less than 60 days to sell a home. If we look at how that compares with last year, it's interesting because it's a little bit slower, but we had a hot seller's market almost in all brackets last year, except for 1.5 to 2 million. So take a look at that. You might want to freeze that chart and look at it, and then you can see how the other price ranges break down. So moving ahead, this is the version of our Tustin Talks where we really look at the 3 zip codes in Tustin, because we know we had a lot of viewers from there. Now we're going to compare last month's stats compared to November of 23. And the reason we have to go back to November is because those stats don't come in until about the 10th of December. Okay, so if you take a look now, the for sale, you can see that there's actually more homes listed in all the zip codes this year. So that's good. That's what we saw in the county. Now, if you take how many houses came up as new listings in the month of November, you can go across there and you can see how that compares. Then if you look at the solds are actually, these are not big numbers, right? So, these percentages can look a little bit smaller and a little bit bigger than they appear. You got to really look at those numbers and you can see how that compares. Like North Tustin's only up 1 sale this year, right? Which is 4%. So take a look at all those different zip codes. Let's look at pendings next. Pendings are interesting because that'll show you like, hey, what's been going on like really recently, right? And you can see that on all 3 zip codes, they were up this year from last year. Looking at the months of inventory, you can see that in all zip codes, it's actually taking a little bit longer to sell a home, like we discussed before. Now they put it into months here. So you can see 92705, 1.7 months, 92782, only 1.4 months. Then let's look at active solds. One thing that kind of stood out to me on this was, again, 92705. Look at the sales this year by price range versus last year. I mean, that's down quite a bit. So maybe interest rates are starting to take effect here, showing that people can't just stretch into those higher price ranges like they were before. So you can see how that goes across the zip codes. And then, of course, you can look at the final list price, the sold price, the original list price, the sold price, and the average days on the market for all these. So you may want to go ahead and just freeze this. I'm going to move ahead right now because I know you guys are all anxious to hear, when is this market going to crash, and hear the advice for buyers and sellers. So one of the questions I always get is, Dean, when's the market going to crash? I mean, my God, these prices are so high. Like, who can afford these houses? Well, there's not a whole lot of people that can afford these houses, but there's not a whole lot of reasons for the market to crash either. And let's talk about why, okay? Number one, the only thing that's going to make this market ever crash would be just an absolutely terrible economy. And when we say crash, it's not going to be like how we all remember that back in the Great Recession when everybody was financially in trouble. If you look at the statistics of how many people own their homes now free and clear, or even how many people have more than 50% equity in them, it's a very small portion of the population that does not have a lot of equity. So no matter what happens in this market, people can get themselves out. So the question is, are the prices going to go down? Are the prices going to go down? Maybe, but they're not going to crash. And then what's going to make prices go down? Inventory has to go up, because we've already seen this year that the demand has stayed steady and even picked up. Okay. So, and that's with higher interest rates. So, there's just a lot of demand for Orange County. I wish for you guys that want to do all the fear mongering out there that, you could get your way and things would just collapse. But what's going to make it collapse? You can put it in the comments, because I want to know what's going to make things collapse. So looking ahead for buyers, don't sit around thinking that things are going to continue to get better. They're not going to get better. They're going to stay even, or they're going to creep up slowly. Interest rates this year going into 2025, of course, not always smart to predict interest rates. It's not my prediction. But if you look at all the different people that are good at that, or think they're good at that, right? All the different agencies, all that kind of stuff, they're only talking about rates maybe floating down 0.5%. So that's like, maybe 5% purchasing power you would pick up. And meanwhile, you're going to wait for spring, summer markets when prices start to go up anyway. So if you see something you like right now, just buy it, and buy it for the long term. That's all you got to do. Hold on to it. Start making a payment that means something. Start building some equity for yourselves. I know it's not easy. It's very expensive to do, but it is what it is. It's, you have to decide whether it's a better alternative than renting, right? Now, sellers, what do you guys got to do? Well, hey, it's been good for you for a long time, and it looks like it's going to stay consistently good. But the days of having just all this equity just keep building and building and building, that's not going to happen. So, if you don't have a use for your home right now, let's talk about the options or the different ways maybe you could sell that home. Maybe defer taxes, maybe do something different, okay? We've got wealth planners and all kinds of people at our disposal that give you all kinds of ideas. There's deferred sales trust. There's all kinds of things out there that you might not know about. So it might be good to delve into that before you just decide, hey, I'm never going to sell this house. Because the reality is, if you've ever been a landlord, that is not easy. There's a job that goes along with that. And if you hire a property manager, that just means you got to pay them. Things are still going to break at the house. You get a bad tenant, it could be a nightmare. So let's just talk about, how do we get you out of this house that makes sense, right? So we are seeing more homes come on the market. People can only hold their lives up for so long. So if that applies to you, give us a call. Second type of seller that you should know about that we are just doing a tremendous amount of business with is trust and sales and probates and stuff like that. People who have lost a loved one and it's just time to get rid of the family house. We completely understand how emotional that is, and we understand it's really tough. And that's why we work so hard to make it easy for our sellers. It's literally just call us and we will take care of everything for you. All you got to do is get the stuff out of the house that your family wants. And once that happens, we will do the rest. We can get that house prepped for the market. We can get it cleaned, ready to go, painted, carpet, whatever services you can possibly imagine, we do it. Okay. So you can give us a call on that. We'll tell you what that program looks like. And then of course, there's the traditionary seller. Maybe you're leaving the state, maybe you're moving up, and we would love to talk to you guys about that too. In the end, most important thing is you get that house looking great, you get it priced right, and you have someone really good in your corner that's going to help go ahead and negotiate on your behalf. If you take the time to interview us and go ahead and compare us with our competition, I think what you're going to find is that we're doing a lot of stuff that our competitors aren't, especially on the marketing side. So let's talk soon. In the meantime, it's the holidays. Everybody enjoy. Enjoy the holidays this year. I think I forgot my Santa hat. I think last year I had a Santa hat on for this show. We're going to be back sometime after the first of the year. We're not exactly sure. We're going to go ahead and post it up for you guys once we figure out the calendar. And we will see you then. Happy holiday season. Bye-bye.